Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to cover a few different things. We're going to cover Doug Ford and the gross mentality with the elbows up Canada. Then we're going to move on to the Trump tariffs, more into specifically Trump and Mark Carney. Then we are going to talk about the fake polls and a little bit of the fake news. So without further ado, let's get started, ladies and gentlemen.
What I can tell you, it's going to hurt American workers. He thinks it's not complicated. It's the most complicated transition in being in the auto sector, as we all know. How many times parts go back and forth. I had an opportunity to speak to the Prime Minister, and I'm in full support of preparing retaliatory tariffs, tariff for tariff. But we want to see what he's going to do on April the 2nd. As we've seen over a number of months, it's on again, off again. That $65 billion of tariffs that we have on the table that we can launch towards the U.S., we have to run through every tariff and minimize the pain for Canadians, maximize the pain for Americans. And I feel terrible for the Americans, but it's one person, it's President Trump, that's creating this chaos.
I don't agree with it, and I highly doubt it's going to ever come to that significant of a problem. And we're going to come back to this, actually. That's a good little note I have planned for later on. Let's go over here to the Trump tariffs.
Absolutely, but we had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock. We put out a statement. We had a very good talk. He's going through an election now, and we'll see what happens. But we have Liberation Day on April 2nd, because, and I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us, the likes of which nobody even thought was possible for many decades, and that has to stop. We're going to end up with a very good relationship with Canada and a lot of the other countries. Some we probably won't. It won't be so pleasant, but I think most countries are agreeing with me. Many of them have actually apologized. They said, look, we have taken advantage. And I don't blame them as much as I blame the people that stood, in this case, I can say the men, because so far they've been all men, haven't they?
Yeah, there we go. Had a great talk with the Canada's PM. I can only imagine how that call went. It was probably Trump calling Carney, telling him to put his big boy pants on and wait until the election's called, you unelected dictator. Let's listen to Carney. I can't stand listening to this guy's voice.
First time President Trump had a conversation with Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Trump says following the phone call, the two will have an in-person meeting. The conversation comes days after Trump said the U.S. was going to impose a 25% tariff on vehicles made outside the U.S. starting on April 2nd, a move that could deal a serious blow to Canada's economy.
Yeah. Rebel News.
Sydney Fazard for Rebel News, coming to you from downtown Calgary, Alberta, a Canadian province which might be on the verge of separation, and with good reason.
A federal election is not going to change the inequities of Canadian federalism or change the structure of the Canadian Constitution. So we're proceeding regardless. On current polling, to the extent that Ontario, all of the have-not provinces in Canada are going to elect a Carney government so that they can keep drawing money out of Alberta to subsidize inefficient governments in those jurisdictions, I think that all but guarantees, on the basis of the demands that Danielle Smith put forward to the government, that there will be a referendum this year and that the referendum will succeed. I think the election of a Carney government
I sure hope so.
Basically spells the end of Canada as we presently know it. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion. Should we join the United States? Should we be a standalone independent state? Those are all questions for another day. The initial mission is to have a referendum for independence, and then following that, all of the subsequent questions can be answered in terms of future relationships with the United States. There's nothing wrong with having a citizens' initiative to move something like this forward. But again, it's not just me. I'm also involved with the Alberta Prosperity Society and the Alberta Prosperity Project. We have over 66,000 members, supporters, and volunteers firmly committed to gather, if Danielle Smith will not call a referendum herself this year, firmly committed to gathering the signatures that we need under the Citizens Initiative Act to have a referendum this year on that basis. And
Hee-haw. Let's do it. Glad I moved there this year.
frankly, given that it looks like Mark Carney is likely to be elected as the next Prime Minister of Canada, I don't think we have any option now other than to vote for independence to protect ourselves from another 4 years of devastating misrule by a Liberal government in Ottawa that actually thinks that it can use shutting down Alberta oil to the United States as a negotiating tactic in a trade war that the Liberals themselves started for the sole purpose of winning an election.
Getting into the polls now, as everybody's been seeing over the last how many days. Oh, look at how the Liberals are caught up so much and the Conservatives have dropped so much. I wouldn't believe a single thing you see here. If you watch one of my old videos, unless it was one of the videos that I got wrecked yesterday with all the audio issues, I lost over an hour of video yesterday. However, I talked about the World Economic Forum as well as their involvement throughout the world with foreign interference, China and the European Union, the UK, and their woke agenda through WEF and their DEI programs built to corrupt, break all the economies. And this just goes to show that when they handpick him again, like they just did for the leadership race for the next 4 years, less people are surprised. Oh, the polls were trending. It was trending his way. It was trending his way. I wouldn't believe it. Here's another one. I just don't believe it. This was yesterday. Oh, earlier this week. So, moving on. See, you can barely get a few people to show up to his events. And these people are forced probably because they're union. Here, this is the difference between Mark Carney and Pierre's events. Even with them making this too big to rig, don't be surprised when these come back and he gets another 4 years. I'll drop a link in the description and I'll tag the timestamp in the video for Northern Perspectives video that they did on tracking down some conspicuous polling data. I'll say they did a very good job investigating that article. I don't want to steal any of their thunder. Danielle Smith announced the other day that she's going to be doing a podcast with the second largest podcaster in the world, and we now know who it is, Ben Shapiro. So if you actually Google it, it doesn't show up. You got to go and ask Grok, and then it shows up. Again, I lost some audio yesterday. I apologize, and the last video I uploaded was the only one I could save with the very littlest audio issues. I do apologize. Thank you so much for bearing with it. If you do have any issues with it, I am very sorry. I just had to get it out there. I spent a lot of time on it and I wasn't going to redo it. But again, this elbow up, dogfighting, BS doesn't need to be. And again, the reciprocal tariffs, if they don't want them, all we have to do is reduce our tariffs. With that actually being said, why everybody's blaming the US for the tariffs? Because the Liberals want you to think that it's the US, it was Donald Trump that brought this on us. Even though we've had 10 cities in our country for the last 10 years, ever since the Liberals took over, and it's only increased. We got 30,000, 25 to 35,000 people homeless every night, coast to coast, in Canada. Those are stats. I looked them up. They should be in a previous video. If we have the power or the ability to make a difference, make the difference. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for the change. Be the change. Make the change. And do not be like the far left in the United States that have been deemed domestic terrorist. We don't want that in Canada. We don't need that in Canada. We are better than that in Canada. And we don't need to be hating our neighbors to the south. We have nothing to do with Elon Musk, yet people protest at Tesla in Canada now. That's ridiculous. I just find it absolutely ridiculous. Instead of making our streets better, making our cities better, and making our people better, and everything else that goes along with it, housing, work, education, military, so much more. We'd rather start a fight and go further in debt. How does that make sense? It's the brainwashing mentality that the liberals have brainwashed everybody with the mainstream media over the last 10 years. And then we have all kinds of paid, I'm going to call them extras. There are people getting paid to promote and post stuff. This one here is what I'm talking about. See, I bet you this guy's paid. Canadians are about to reject Paul Ear once and for all. Gotta love it. Elbows up. Right? Unless he's being sarcastic. But there's a lot of posts and a lot of people that are out there. They'll put things like this to try to boost the liberals. And then when they win in the election again, they'll be like, the polls proved it. The popularity proved it. We had all the popularity. We had the polls to prove it. Huh. I highly doubt that. And even making it too big to rig. Yeah. Making it too big to rig. I don't think the woke agenda cares about this. Not for a second. Not with Canada. The US, yeah. Not with Canada. Nope, nope. The wolf got in the hen house. And he's gonna get them all. Oh, what a perfect one. And this is exactly what they're setting up for. The European Union works with Canada in order to do economic harm to the US. Large-scale tariffs, far larger than the currently planned, will be placed on them both. And Trump confirmed on Air Force One after landing in Florida today that this is indeed, he's going to stick to this even after the conversation with Mark Carney this morning, I think it was, this afternoon, several hours ago. And they had a great conversation. Trump wants nothing to do with the New World Order, WEF, DEI, woke agenda. Trump's against it all. And I don't blame him. And the first thing, even though he vouched for Zelensky, because he did the exact same thing Carney's doing right now. Oh yeah, let's build pipelines. Oh yeah, we'll do this. Oh yeah, I'll invoke emergencies acts to make sure we got pipelines. As soon as his foot got in the door, the sheep's clothes came off and the wolf was exposed. Full dictator. Zelensky locked up all his opposition and told everybody that they're no longer speaking Russian. The Russian language was a key point in the Minsk agreements, and that's why Putin got so mad when Zelensky got in, went full dictator, locked up his opposition that was for the Russian language, for Russian education. They couldn't speak Russian no more and were disowned. There's a video Zelensky said, if you want to speak Russian and you believe you're Russian, then go to Russia. That's exactly what's coming to Canada. As you've seen, oh, I wish I could find it. Mark Carney gets asked a question and the reporter responds, so I'll take that as a no. Mark Carney's response, no, you'll take that as a complex answer. I'll do what? No. No, you don't. He doesn't get to tell people how to think. He doesn't get to tell people how they'll take things. He doesn't get to tell people how they'll do anything. He's not a dictator. Canada is a democracy, a free country. And I sure hope this separation is full on if Mark Carney gets in. I don't want to be in a country run by a dictator any longer. I want to be in a free country. I want to be able to go back to work, make a living, hiding behind a screen because you can't speak the truth. Otherwise, you get told you're not allowed to. That's why Mark Carney removes all the news outlets and independent journalists from his events. Because he doesn't want the truth out there. He wants a certain narrative broadcast all across the mainstream media to brainwash all the simpletons and then some. And even if he doesn't get them all, they got the polls rigged. So that way when they go to an election and they rig it again like they did in 2018 and 2021, no one will be none the wiser. They have the numbers. Glad I moved to Alberta. Again, if you listen this long, don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned. Thank you very much for coming out again, and stay tuned for another video. I'm going to do a video on what's going to happen to Canada if Mark Carney gets in. What are your options? Where are you going to go? How are you going to handle it? And why? And I'll give you my answers to that too. Leave your comments below. Thank you very much for coming out. Bye for now.